My name is Anas, and welcome to the first episode of Angular Unplugged. Angular Unplugged is a new show hosted by NG Pakistan. Today is our first episode, so I would like to give some introduction to the show before we get started. This is a talk less, code more show, and you guessed it right. We'll be talking less and doing some coding. The whole idea behind this project and why it's a bit different from other webinars and podcasts that you might have seen before is we would like to solve some real-world problems, starting from small problems and going all the way and solving bigger problems. So that's the whole idea, keeping it short and keeping it simple and just doing some live coding. With me today for the first show, I'm super excited, super excited to have Stephen Floyn from the Angular core team. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Nas. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
Okay, perfect. So let's ask Stephen what we are doing. Yes, Stephen.
Sure. So I think this morning we're going to do a couple things. First, we're going to use the Angular CLI to get started with a kind of brand new Angular project. And then we'll look at ways of extending that and then possibly even pulling over a quick start and seeing, hey, if I started with a Angular project, I have something running System.js, how do I migrate over to Webpack?
Perfect. So can you guarantee that I'll be like a master of Angular CLI after this?
Absolutely. I can guarantee it. Cool. Money back guarantee.
So would you like to share your screen?
Sure. Let's give this a try here. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see myself again. Yeah, I can see a terminal as well. Yep.
All right. So let's just get out of wherever we were here. Clear this up. All right, so I've already installed the Angular CLI. So if you wanted to do that, you could just do npm install -angular-cli. I'm also going to be using something called Yarn a little bit, just because for this type of live demo, it's a little bit faster. So I already have the Angular CLI version beta 18 installed, so we should see that.
So is this a command, Angular CLI command to do ng version? Is this a command?
Yep, so that is the ask ng what version of the Angular CLI we're using. So 1.0.0 beta 18.
Okay. So a quick question on this. So is Angular CLI keeping up with the Angular 2 version? Maybe some people are wondering why it's beta 18 up to now. So
sure, it definitely is keeping up with the latest Angular version. But what we're really focused on is making the CLI kind of easy to use in all use cases. Right now, it's easy to use and fantastic for most use cases. But I think there's some additional room for improvement to help you take advantage of some more advanced strategies. All right, so one thing that's a little bit interesting. So just in the kind of standard NPM world, whenever someone ships a command line tool, you actually end up with kind of two versions of the command line. So one is installed globally, and then what we're going to see is we're actually going to get a version that's installed locally as well. So let me go ahead and scaffold out a new project. What should we call our project in this?
Our first, maybe NG Pakistan project, like our first awesome NG Pakistan project. Yeah, I think NG Pakistan sounds good.
001, implying that there's going to be many more.
Yeah, definitely.
So what this is doing is this is just taking the blueprint that's running within the CLI.
So much stuff.
Yeah, and it's already done. So we should just be able to go into this directory now. And we now have a full Angular project. In the background here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Visual Studio Code in a current folder. And then I'm also going to go ahead and show that, or install all the dependencies. So I'm just going to run a quick yarn. Actually, I'll do npm install. It's just so the package that was scaffolded out came with a package.json, so it should know how to do all of the dependency management itself.
Cool.
But while that's running in the background, we can actually take a look at the source code that we've got.
Sure.
Zoom in here. All right. Hopefully you can see that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, that's clear.
In the root folder, we've got a bunch of kind of editor configurations. Hopefully you don't need to spend too much time touching these things. So you've got like your git ignore files, all the things we don't want to commit into Git. The package.json for the project. They've given you a sample README that just talks about how this was built and how it can run. And then if we go into our source folder, we're going to start getting now the source code. So you're going to see some very familiar things like an index.html file. And you're going to note this is very simplified. So you've got your kind of root component here, but you don't actually have any JavaScript references. And that's because the current version of CLI uses Webpack. And so as
Oh.
part of the build and serve process, it actually adds all of those references.
So can you tell us if we were using System.js in the past for Angular CLI and why we moved to Webpack if that was the case?
Sure. So the current state of the CLI is actually intentionally a little bit of a black box where we want you to not have to worry about bundling or packaging. And in order to achieve that, Webpack was a little bit more capable in terms of resolving dependencies and then automatically pulling them in to the bundles in the appropriate way. You've probably seen with the System.js version, every time you add a new dependency, you have to kind of update that system configuration in several places. With Webpack, we don't actually have to do that right now. So for right now, Webpack is kind of the best choice for building this out of the box, fantastic developer experience.
So for me as a developer, for example, I'm working on a project and I don't have to worry what exactly I'm using on my project, right? Whether it's Webpack, whether it's System.js or something else, I can use Angular CLI either ways, right?
The Angular CLI uses Webpack, so if you're using the CLI, you will kind of under the hood be using Webpack, but the intent is that you don't have to think about that. These are Angular CLI commands we're going to be running, and we won't be doing any sort of Webpack configuration.
Perfect.
So in the background here, we've noticed that the npm install is finished, and we've got all those kind of node modules now, which means we should actually be able to take this project and serve it. So let's go ahead and run the ng serve command. What that's doing is that's taking all of our TypeScript, compiling it down, all our ES6 bundles, bringing them all into a single bundle that you can actually see here, main.bundle.js. And then if we pull up a little browser here, we can actually take a look at localhost 4200, and there is our project.
Ooh, we have our project, guys. Awesome. So we already built a project. Great.
Yeah. So now you're running Angular, and you're pretty much done.
Yes, so we are done. That's the show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh no, that's not the show. Okay. Let's see what else can we do. And that's so nice. Like we just bootstrap a new project from nowhere. Cool.
Yeah. So I was talking through the source folder a little bit where you see the indexed HTML, any of the polyfills, things like that, your TypeScript configuration. But then most of the code for your application is actually in this app folder. And so we've automatically scaffolded out a component. So it's a very simple component binding to that app root selector. And it's got references out to an HTML file, a CSS file. And then we're setting this local member of title to AppWorks. And then you can see Angular expression syntax here, or template syntax. We're looking at that title. So let's go ahead and do something that I find to be kind of a relatively standard thing that Angular developers do, which is let's make a toolbar for our application, right? Or a top bar. Let's just go ahead and make a new file, and I'm just going to copy this. I'll leave the title in there. I'm actually going to use inline templates just because for demoing this is a little bit simpler.
Can we create a new component with Angular CLI?
Yes, you absolutely can. So we can actually let's go ahead and do that in a second here. So our top bar component, great. And now what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to do a couple things. I'm going to need to refer to this from my root component, and I'm going to need to declare it in my app module. So let's go ahead and import this here. All right, so now we're declaring that. So what we've done is we've said that this component belongs to this module. It's its compilation context. And then let's go ahead and add that top bar. So we don't actually need this. We can just do a top bar, if I remember the selector correctly. All right, so now if you ever run into weird errors that you can't explain in Visual Studio Code, I would just recommend you reload the window. Not sure why that works. Visual Studio Code is a very cool editor, but it's still a little bit young, I would say.
Yeah, I'm more a fan of WebStorm, but people think it's heavy. So anyways.
All right, and then let's just add some terrible HTML here so that we can tell if it's working. but
Okay, let's look. Oh, cool.
look, and there it is. And what we're going to see now, if we look at the HTML, is app roots, just like we talked about, the top bar component with the div inside of it, h1, and the body content.
Great. So what are we doing next?
Let's go ahead and add another component, and maybe this time we can make a footer component.
Okay.
So I'm going to pop open a new terminal window here.
Looks like we'll end up in a full-fledged website, Stephen.
That's always the intent, right?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to use the ngg command. And we're going to be able to generate a component. And let's give this name this component footer bar. We've got a top bar and a footer bar.
Oh, this time we are creating a component with the help of Angular CLI, right?
Yes, yep. And so what happens with Angular CLI is it's going to actually do a bunch of the development coding for you. So it's going to scaffold out that component using the name that you gave it. Unlike the one that I had to write by hand where I put it all in one file and did everything kind of inline, this is trying to use some of the best practices in terms of putting a component in its own folder, having a separate CSS TS file, as well as it's generated a spec file. So let's go and take a look at what it actually generated. So here's our component. They've already added some of the lifecycle events. So ng on init if you want that. We've got the references to the HTML and the CSS. If we look at the HTML, it just says footer bar works. No CSS, so if I want to add some here that are specific to that component. And then lastly, we've got a spec. So this is a specification that defines this. So what I want to do is let's go ahead and run these.
So can we go back for a second, Stephen, on the terminal?
Sure.
Yeah, so this is basically a command ngg component and then the name of the component. This is a basic command to create a component, right?
Yep, exactly. And there's a few parameters. These
yeah, so I wanted to actually, so my question was about those flags or special things that we can pass. So can we instruct it to go to a specific folder rather than going to the app folder itself? Because it's creating its own folder, right? Maybe I don't want that separate folder or, so how would I do that?
So let's maybe generate a profile view or something like that. So it's ngg. When I use ngg, that's just an alias for ngGenerate. So I can also do ngGenerate. Let's make another component, and this time let's call it profile view. And let's say I want it to be flat, and I believe I'm going to get this wrong, but I believe it's no tests.
Cool.
The flat property it does not create an extra folder for it. Let me just.
Oh, flat goes directly to the app. Okay.
Yep, exactly. I did get that wrong. I'd have to double check on what the no test is, but it's not really a flag you should be using anyway. But I wanted to look at a couple other things that have actually happened here. So,
okay, sure.
We looked at we now have this profile view, just like we did with the footer bar. You'll note that it's flat now. It's not creating a folder for that. And then as I was doing the manual process, you recall one of the things I had to do is I had to add it to my app module. With the Angular CLI, we're actually automatically adding those imports.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, because in general, what it's doing is it's actually inferring based on where you're creating the component in the hierarchy, where you want those components to be, what module you want those components to belong to, and then adding it to the appropriate app module. Because one of the things as you're building larger applications is we actually want you to have multiple app module or Angular modules. And so if we can just kind of automatically find the right one and put it in there, that makes your life a lot easier.
That looks so great, because I think it's like automating each and everything that you always do, like creating a component and then going back to the app module and then putting up the reference in there. So it's helping you. That's really great.
Yeah. Let's do something a little bit maybe something that would be difficult with System.js. So what I want to do is I actually want to add and import material design. So what I'm going to do is let's make sure that I have the material design dependency. So this is the same as npm install, but I'm going to do Angular/material. I believe this is already installed, but let's just double check that. If it's not, we're going to get it installed right now.
Yeah, so whoever is watching this video, Yarn has nothing to do with the Angular CLI. It's just a thing Stephen is using. You can always.
It's just a faster newer, a little bit different version of NPM.
Yeah.
Although I guess it's not newer anymore because NPM just launched, what was it, version 4?
Yeah. Yeah, but you can always use npm install for Angular material and other stuff.
Yeah. So if we look at our package.json now, we should see that we now have Angular/material as a dependency. Visual Studio Code is saying we added this line here. And so what that means is now I can go into my app module and I can import from Angular material, the material module. My application. This immediately gives me access to all of the material design components. And so we can actually go and look on the material page. We can see all of these components that they've got. So I always just look at the, where is it? Here we go. So here are all the components. A lot of them are being kind of actively updated. So let's take a look at, for example, a nice button. Let's say we want to show a button. So if we want to do a flat button, empty button. If we want to do a raised button, it's MD raised button. And then we'll just take a look here. So let's just do an MD raised button. So let's go ahead and use that in our app component here. You can really put it anywhere you want.
Yep.
Because Webpack automatically knows how to resolve at Angular/material, and the ng module adds that to the entire compilation context. You should see that button right away. So there you go. We now have a material design button.
Great. Yes, Steven. So maybe if we can look at some events, adding some events to the button, and go on from there, and use some more Angular 2 stuff.
Sure. So why don't we create a little messages section? So below our top bar in my app component, I'm just going to create a for messages. And so we're going to need messages to be an array of messages. So let's say message. That should be good. So let's say that when we click this button, we want to go ahead and add a message. And so what we can do now is let's go define add message in our app component.ts file. And we can actually use TypeScript to give ourselves a little bit of help and say this is going to return a string. Actually, this is actually a void.
We'll just add it to an array, right? So probably we can.
Now messages is an array of strings, and I can say it's going to be empty initial state, and then whenever I add message, I'm going to say messages.push.
Cool.
And this stuff.
This stuff, yeah.
So let's see if that worked at all.
Perfect. Woo!
Now we have an event. Now we have this kind of conditional rendering that's basing everything off of the DOM.
Cool. So what else can we look at in terms of Angular CLI and adding some more stuff to the project, some more Angular thing into the project?
So this may be a little bit scary to some people, but the Angular CLI project is, as I've kind of said in several of my past talks, it's not magic. And so once you kind of know where to look, which is basically packages/Angular CLI, you can kind of see everything that it's doing under the hood. So for example, if I was curious, I can do ng help, and I can see all of the things that the Angular CLI can do for me.
That's cool.
But then you can also do things a little bit, you can go a little bit deeper if you're interested. So for example, I can look at what actually happens when I use one of these commands. So if I go into generate, for example, I can see all of the things that it's doing. So it's using an alias map to say, okay, here are all the things I can generate: classes, components, directives. So like I can do mgg, create a model, and let's call this the cool people model. NGG model invalid. Module, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
So what it's done is it's actually created its own ng module here in its own folder, as you definitely should do here. It's got its own declarations. It's importing common module because we're not the root module. And if I used any sort of routing, I could load this. I could either import this module without routing, or I could route to this module as part of a child route. Do we want to look at routing at all? Or?
Yeah, sure. I think that's the next thing that we should look into.
All right. So everyone has a little bit of a different style for this, but the first thing we need to do is we need the import. So let's import router module from Angular router. I'm going to use my declarations. Excuse me, I'm going to use my imports here. I'm going to say router module, but I need to configure it. So I'm going to say for root, pass in an array of routes. So let's just say the default path is going to have component. We're going to show the profile view. What's going to happen is I'm going to be moving some of the functionality from our app component into our profile view component, because our app component should now really just include the router outlet. So let's go ahead and copy that out of there. Oops, that's a CSS file. Probably don't need that there. Let's see. No, it's the source code that we need.
And probably it'd be great if we can, in the app component, maybe we can have some buttons to go from one route to the other. That would be great.
Yes, let's definitely get there. So what I am going to need here is I'm going to need a router outlet.
Yes.
Now I could give this a name and I could have multiple router outlets and get very fancy, but
so if you're too new to Angular 2, router outlet helps you change, helps you view your current route depending on the routing that you have set in the application. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what it does is it basically declares where in the view you want to have the component loaded based on the current route. I said that I implement ng on init, but then I removed it. Keep it simple here. Just get rid of the errors temporarily. I'm just going to turn this back into a normal button. All right, so we have our ng Pakistan. Go up here, just pull this out quickly. It should be good. All right, so as you can see, if we look at the HTML here, we are actually now in our app root. We've got our router outlet. And what happens is that actually gets put next to the component that is being rendered for the current route. So we have this profile view component that's being loaded, and it's loaded in the same spot as the router outlet tag, but it's not replacing it. And so what that actually allows us to do is that's important for animation reasons, for example. So if we had two components and we wanted to have a transition between them, we would need both of them on the screen at the same time. And so we're not just swapping out the router outlet, we're actually just putting it right next to it. As you said, let's actually generate another component. So we've got a profile view. Maybe let's make a system statistics component or something like that. Let's say a new ngg component system statistics.
Interesting name. So what are you doing in this component?
I thought I would just show some stats about the system as it is today. So in here, let's just say the system is online and not currently under DDoS, because we just had a ton of DDoS attacks across the internet. All right, so that should have automatically be added to my app module, which it was. Perfect. Which means that I can just refer to the system statistics in my routing. So let's make a new path. Say path stats component system statistics.
Is there a way to add routes through the Angular CLI?
There is not currently. So
Okay.
there used to be, but one of the things that we discovered was that, and we're still looking into this, so that this is not the final word, but the amount of values the CLI was adding when you generated routes was actually very low, because it was very hard for us to infer what you were trying to do. And so what ended up happening was you would actually be typing more on the command line than I did right here to add a new route, right? I mean, this is relatively simple, relatively straightforward way to add a route to the system. The CLI can't really help a ton with that, because it's not like we have to touch 8 places in your code, really. I just add this one line of code.
Right. Okay.
All right. And so let's go ahead and go to visit/stats to see if it works.
It works.
Online and not currently under DDoS. Perfect.
Cool.
Now let's go ahead and add in our top bar here. Put the top bar. Let's go ahead and add a couple buttons. So in here, let's add a list. Which one is going to be a link to our stats? So we're going to use router link, and I'm going to refer to stats. We'll call it stats. For that, we're going to say maybe a home button. So you'll notice that I am not binding this. I definitely could bind this, and then
that was
something
my next question. How can you read my mind? Yeah.
So by default, I don't actually have to bind it if I'm just going to static routes. The alternative way I could do this is if I made both of these bound attributes, brackets going the right way, I could then pass in a list. So I could say stats, and then if I wanted to do something fancy, I could, for example, let's go to our messages view. And we can say, we'll do a couple things. So I'm going to add another route that is maybe, I'm not actually going to build this, but I'll just show how it can be built. Maybe it's stats/message ID.
So it's like the same route, maybe with different parameters.
Exactly. And then what we'll do is we'll hook up our people view, our profile view here, so that depending on the message that you're looking at, this is a router link. So I'm just passing a array here. With stats and then the message, and what will happen is it'll automatically put in the slash.
Okay.
It should anyway. So go home. So let's leave the stats page. Let's add some messages. And then you'll notice down there at the URL bar, the message is actually being passed in as the URL.
Yes.
Now I'm at hello NG Pakistan. It's already done all the URL escaping for me automatically, and we're viewing the stats component again.
Looks great.
Awesome. So that's basically the Angular CLI. Oh, the one thing I didn't show you. So we have this very nice kind of development experience where I'm writing code, I'm bundling code with the ng serve command, but I can actually do something a little bit better. So if we look at the code, it's got all that live reload. All of the code has the source maps and things like that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to run ng build -- prod. So instead of serving live, what this is going to do is this is basically going to populate a /dist folder. And then in that /dist folder, it's going to minify, it's going to uglify all of the source code that I've got, so that we can just have a portable bundle that I can ship. And then I'm going to take a look at one more thing, because I think it'd be very cool. Unfortunately,
so the ng serve version that we were looking at initially wasn't a bundle version. Is that correct?
It was bundled, but it was not minified.
Okay.
It's so the Angular CLI does bundle it just to try and keep the development experience as close as possible. And we're going to take a look at this GitHub Pages deploy. And what you'll notice is if we use GitHub Pages deploy, we are actually going to build the test app for production and commit it into a local branch. So this is going to require us to have a GitHub account.
That'll be so cool.
Let's try and get a GitHub account going. This. All right.
So it actually seems to me like Angular CLI is also helping us getting into our repos and maybe committing it from there, right? And we don't have to worry about actually doing some Git commands.
Yes. Yep, exactly, right? Because hosting a project, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but it's also, you have to think about it. You have to install the tool chain, things like that. So we're trying to make that simpler. So I'll actually deploy it here, and then I'll also take a look at if we can deploy it to Firebase if you're interested.
Sure.
So let's go ahead. One of the things that's been happening here is when we initially created the project, it actually
this is so cool. Wait a minute. This is so cool. Angular CLI. Who did that? Did you do it?
I think that was Hans or someone on the team.
Oh, okay. That's perfect.
So what we can do is we can say we scaffolded out example project. So this is just the VS Code Git interface. All those changes look good. So I'm going to commit all those. And then I'm going to add the remote. All right. And now we should see here the Angular Unplugged demo is now live. That's just the source code. So now we want to run the GitHub pages deploy. Run GitHub pages deploy. Take that GitHub repo connection that we've got. It's going to create a branch that is exclusively the dist folder. It's going to commit that to the branch, and it's going to push it up. And let's see if this works.
Interesting.
Additional asset processing. Are we stuck? No.
Nope.
Looks like we're not stuck.
I think it was just waiting for us to say something, maybe.
All right. So you're seeing these yellow warnings because that's part of the build production. All right. So it's deployed. So let's go ahead and visit this URL and see what happens. This is not a GitHub Pages site. I wonder if that's just a refresh issue. Let's take a look. So we should see a gh-pages branch here. That all looks good. Did GitHub change how they're...
Is GitHub live? That's another thing.
What's that?
I'm saying, is GitHub live?
Oh, because it was down so much yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Here. Do I have to activate it? I thought I'd done this before. It's fine. I bet it's just a caching timer issue. So we'll come back and take a look at this. But what I do want to do is I want to go to Firebase.google.com. I also want to deploy to a Firebase project because I think that's a really cool, easy way to host a portable project like this.
So now we are about to deploy our Angular CLI basic project into a Firebase hosting,
exactly.
Right?
Using Firebase hosting. So we'll go ahead and create the project. And we've got this hosting. Let's hit get started. And it's telling us to install the Firebase tools. So we'll just learn global add Firebase tools. And then it wants us to log in, init, and then deploy. Dependency management is such a complex topic. I'm glad I don't have to deal with it anymore. Right, so Firebase login. Logged in, perfect. Base init.
Firebase init and Firebase deploy.
So we're going to connect it. Let's not. Sure, let's keep the database. We might need that at some point in the future. I'm going to. You are unplugged. Database rules. It's the public. I'm going to use my dist folder.
So the one we are seeing right now is the Firebase CLI. It's not the Angular CLI. Is that correct?
Yes, Firebase is a Firebase command. But what we're going to do is we're going to combine our commands. We're going to do ng-build-prod to make sure we have a nice clean /dist folder. And then as soon as that's done, I'm going to run Firebase deploy.
Oh, cool. I'm
super curious why the GitHub one didn't work. I'm going to keep coming back to that, I think.
Maybe that's something with, maybe they've changed something in the last 24 hours.
Oh, no, wait. The project name was Angular Unplugged Demo. Did I change the project name at some point? That's the issue.
Oh,
there it is. I just changed the project name. and it did not deploy properly. All right, we're going to stop taking a look at that.
Yep.
All right, so this is built properly, so let's run Firebase. Okay. Now that I've got the toolchain installed and I've got it connected to my project, preparing the dist directory for upload, and it should be
on. We are going live on Firebase. I think we're done.
Let's take a look. See if we had the same issues as we had with.
Here we go.
Ooh. There it is. That was much faster.
Yes. So we have
all our functionality works. And it's a single page application.
So we started with a basic project. We used Angular CLI to build a simple project that you can see on the screen, and then we used Firebase to host it. All from command line. All from command line, which is the fun part.
Absolutely.
That's cool. So, Stephen, if you can go back to your terminal, I just wanted to request you to iterate. If you can just clean up the screen, and then we can just reiterate over step 1, 2, 3, and 4 to deploy the stuff that you just discussed, right? The one on GitHub, yeah.
So what we did is we took several. So I'll go back to the beginning and just kind of go from a neutral folder. We typed ng new. We got a project name. And then what we did is we said serve to serve and do the development process. To run that, once we were ready, we typed ng build to do production, so do all the minification steps.
Yeah, this creates a distribution folder, right?
Yep, exactly. It creates the /dist folder. And then for Firebase, we actually used Firebase deploy. And then whatever we had in our /dist folder, that pushed it up and then hosted that for us.
So Firebase deploy was smart enough to go to our dist folder directly, or we had to instruct it to look at that folder?
That was part of the init. So that's a step you'll have to take just once. So if I do Firebase init again, it should already got all the things that.
Oh, okay. So it looks for. Okay. So what are we doing next? I think we are also running over time, so if you can just quickly look at having an existing project, the scenario of having an existing project, and then maybe trying to use Angular CLI on top of that. So for that, I think we have a quick start project. You can go to angular.io and download a quick start project. So we're just simulating a situation where we already have a project running and we were not using Angular CLI from start. And now we want to start using Angular CLI, which can make us productive. So let's see how we can do that.
All right, so let's do a couple things. So I'm going to open side by side a new project using the CLI. So I just ng-newed this project. So it's a completely 100% fresh project. Video code. And I'll swap this one over to the quick start. Oops, that's not going to work. So let's just close that and just do. All right, so now we have a blank Angular CLI project, and we have our quick start. Our quick start has some components, component.ts. It's got a spec file, it's got a module. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to.
Can I do an ng serve on this project?
On the quick start?
Yeah.
No, you cannot do ng serve because it's Angular CLI. It'll say this. It will probably say that you have to be inside the Angular CLI project to do this. But you can run npm start.
Yeah, just to start the project. That's a.
So it's manually running the TypeScript compilation. It's manually running an HTTP server, and then we've got my first Angular app.
Okay, cool. So now we are in a situation where we have a project, but it wasn't using Angular CLI from start. And we would like to have Angular CLI from now onwards. So how do we do that, Stephen?
So it totally depends on kind of how you've structured your app. Hopefully it's pretty portable. But we should actually be able to keep, if we're following kind of the Angular best practices, I should be able to just take my TypeScript files and literally just move them over. I could just actually, let's do that. It's in a, So I've got the quick start here on one side, and I've got the new project on the other. So this is the old on the right, new on the left. And let's just go ahead and say TypeScript files. .ts file, because we've already got that generated by the CLI. Oh, let's make sure we're copying to the right folder. So these are all the project files that are specific to our project. And I'm going to just copy them there, and I'm going to replace them all. And let's see if that worked. So in our xn2 serve, it should now be a CLI project. Within the quick start, we actually had a ton of configuration, right? You had system.js config, you had this main.ts and things like that. And we didn't actually need any of that. So let's take a look and see if this worked. So let's go to a browser here, and then let's pull up localhost 200. Loading. Oh, so we've got a problem. I didn't update my index.html file. So let's just.
I think it was app root, and now it's.
Yeah, so now it's my app. So I just do this, swap that out.
Oh, cool.
And there we are. I didn't port over my CSS, but that's relatively straightforward. We just have to find the CSS. And let's just. So they are using a global style sheet, which I believe the Angular CLI puts in source folder. So I'll write that and make sure that comes through okay. And there it is.
That's right. Okay, cool.
We've now moved over a quick start project. We've abandoned system.js and all of the kind of configuration fun of manually managing each of the libraries and imports. On the CLI.
So if you want to tell someone in like 3 sentences, what exactly do they have to do if they have a project which is running on Angular 2, but not using Angular CLI, and now they have to use Angular CLI? What would you say to them?
There's actually a pretty nice migration guide.
Oh, okay.
Let's see if it's still up here. I meant to go to the wiki. So what happened was the process for doing this for any kind of generic project actually matches the same process that the Angular CLI went through. So update to the latest version of CLI, make sure you're doing that, create a new migration project. You probably want to back up your source folder. So this actually seems like a lot more steps than it is. Because like some people, if you don't have tests, then you don't have to worry about this step. If you're not just worried about backups, you can skip that step. We don't need system config. We don't need typings. You will want any sort of polyfills, styles that you had, any additional typings you had. So it really depends on the extent to which you've customized your project. So this guide will actually take you through kind of everything you might even theoretically need to do. So that this should handle most use cases.
Cool. So I think this looks really great, and I think I should give it a try sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I think so. That was it for today, I believe. Do you have anything to share, Stephen? And would you like to have a last comment, quick comment, and then we can close up?
No, I mean, I think so. Where we're at with Angular, we just shipped Angular 2.1 a couple of weeks ago, which was a drop-in replacement. So we're continuing along kind of this no breaking changes plan that we said. So Angular is fantastic, right? And people are building kind of thousands of amazing applications across the world. But we're still trying to make the tooling better. So, I mean, all of the things we saw today, those help and are awesome. And I basically use them on every single project I touch because it just makes the world a lot simpler. But there's even more we can do in terms of end-to-end developer experience. And then that's one of our core focuses.
And is there anything that you would like to share in terms of something exciting that's coming to Angular CLI? Maybe we are adding something to it?
It's not necessarily. I'll jump on one of the cool things that's coming. It's not part of the Angular CLI, but you notice one of the things that we did a fair amount was actually modifying templates. Let me share my screen again. So going into something like this file and adding title or adding properties and things like that. And one of the things that's coming is a set of language services, which is kind of a drop-in tool that then then gives your editor a semantic understanding of Angular templates. So when I hit double open bracket, it will actually go and look in my component to figure out what all the members are, what their types are, and then all of that information will be available to me while doing editing the template. So that's something in particular I'm very excited about.
So it's like we're making the templates more type aware?
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Okay, sounds cool. Great, Dan. Thank you so very much for bringing some Angular CLI goodies this morning, and thank you very much.
Thanks
everyone. Thanks. Bye.